Welcome back, guys, to the Butterfly Season podcast. I have Becca Booker on with me today to talk about ADHD, mental health, big T, little t in relation to trauma, like literally all of the things, and also therapy, like medication. And we really get into boundaries. You're going to love this. I feel like I need to re-up my boundary game after this episode, and I think you might too. Becca, I'm so happy to have you on today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes. You know what? I've been talking about microdosing a few times on the podcast, and I wanted to have you on because you were like my gateway girly. I feel like
your expander,
my expander in this journey. I didn't tell a lot of people because I was like very scared, but just wanted to try something new. And we would go on these walks. I mean, we do still go on these walks down Exeter because we're going to live there one day.
And we're manifesting, and we got each other the same birthday gift and wrote the same thing in the card about living on Exeter.
yes. So that's when I brought up like microdosing to you. And you've had such a great experience around microdosing and then like overall mental health. And I just want to like unpack that and share and demystify the entire thing. So maybe we start with like, why did you start microdosing? What prompted you to do that?
Yeah. Okay. So, the girl who does my eyebrows,
she was your expander.
About it. She was my expander, and she kept mentioning she was actually in the process of coming off of antidepressants and wanted to try something more natural. And she like, you know, I see her every 8 weeks or something. And so I was able to see like her progression, and she gave me her guy's number.
Wow.
And so I ordered it. And I think you and I did like a similar cadence where mine was 5 days on, 2 days off. And you're the only other person I know who like immediately saw like a spiritual change.
Yeah.
Like it was so much easier to connect with like my inner child. I've told you about the visions I've had, but that's kind of like how I got into it.
Could we unpack a vision? Is this okay?
Yeah, we can unpack a vision.
So the one that I'm talking about was in your childhood bedroom.
Yes.
Okay.
So this was right when I first started taking microdosing mushrooms, and I had flown home to visit my parents for a weekend, and I had taken a microdose that morning. And right before going to bed, I also took a hit of a weed pen, and my plan was just like pass out, go to bed. Instead,
your body had other plans.
My body had other plans. I had this full on like therapeutic experience with myself, and who knows if it's because I had just started the microdosing, or I had also had a little bit of marijuana, or I was in my childhood bedroom, or it was like a combination of all these things. But I was literally, I was like sobbing in my childhood bedroom, but in like a really good way. I like so many blockages that I've had like with mindset, or things that I haven't been able to quite figure out with regards to either like confidence or my family or my relationships or my business. A lot of things just like unlocked or became much clearer. Like I was instantly able to be my higher self. And in fact, I had this like vision where I was myself, obviously, but I was meeting like 8-year-old Becca or like 9-year-old Becca. And I was able to be both versions of me at the same time. And like they were able to like meet and see each other.
Oh,
it's really cute. And I was just like sobbing, but like there was never a moment where I was like scared or I felt like, holy shit, what's going on? Like it all felt really natural, and it was just like very therapeutic. And I was just like really proud of like, you know, 29-year-old me at the time was really proud of 8-year-old me. 8-year-old me was like, oh my God, look at you. Like, it was just like what I needed to hear. It was like a lot of self-coping and a lot of healing my inner child. And I made an effort while I was doing this to journal every thought that came up while I was having this experience. And it's like scrolls long. Like I took so many notes. And the next week I did an unpacking of it all with my therapist. And so that kind of like helped me to be like, what does this mean? Like, here are my thoughts. We're looking at it now from a sober perspective.
Right.
And it really was helpful to then take those notes, re-review them. And I'm so glad I wrote them down, because so many good nuggets come up, and some are dumb. Some are so dumb, but some are like, oh my God, that's the best thought I've ever had.
Yeah.
And then you're like reviewing this with your therapist. You're like, so I did some microdosing last week. Like, what do we think? Here are my thoughts.
Right.
And it was just
so I'm
funny.
a scholar now.
I'm a scholar. I'm enlightened.
So I had an experience on
Similar.
shrooms around the first time that I realized, like, when people say like I healed childhood trauma and like all the things, sometimes I feel like it's like, what does that mean? Right? And there's like, I feel like big T trauma and then like little T trauma or whatever.
Wait, I don't know what that means.
I feel like I'm no trauma expert, but my definition of big T trauma is like something serious.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I relate to this because before I really knew even a lot about therapy and I hear people talk about trauma, I was like, I didn't have any as a kid.
Yeah. I was like,
yeah. And then you learn about trauma. You're like, oh.
You're like, I have a lot of little T's and they add up.
Yeah.
So I say all that to say, okay, so I had an experience, and around like the first time I felt ugly, and it was like at a cheer competition, this like talent agent came to my mom and was like, she needs to be a model. And my mom was like, okay. And after the competition, she takes me to LA to this casting, and he's like, you need to fix her teeth. She needs to get veneers. And then that like terrible dentist spiral down, like trauma around the mouth. And I realized that while like on a shroom trip, and how that one instant has dictated how I felt with my confidence like my whole life. So the reason why I share that is because you mentioned like confidence blockages. What were they, if you don't mind sharing?
So another thing that helped to like open this gateway, I signed up for this membership called To Be Magnetic. And it's a monthly membership, and they have they're essentially like audio clips. They're like 20 to 30 minutes long, and they're called Deep Imaginings. They're basically a meditation.
Yeah.
But they have you imagine yourself in certain situations. And this one in particular was like, imagine yourself through childhood. And so the exercise was like, on day 1, maybe you do like infancy. Day 2, you're doing ages 2 to 5.
Wow.
And so I remember I was doing the one that was like ages 5 to 11. So like elementary school, and something came up, and that I had no idea was a little T for me. It was, I was kind of bullied by these 2 girls in 3rd grade. And looking back at it, I don't necessarily think like, I don't know. You don't look at it and think like trauma.
Right.
But then you realize like, I used to be so much friendlier to people, but because of how they treated me or how they like betrayed me or spoke about me to other people, I started closing myself off to others. Like, I had a blank slate before that, and then you have a bad experience with the friendship, and then you start walls. Exactly. Yeah. There's like hidden jealousies or all these things. And so one of the exercises this meditation had you do was like, see the situation and be in the situation now where your current self is now comforting your 8-year-old self or whatever. And so you're telling them all the knowledge you have now and like why this is okay. These girls, like explaining to them what was happening, and it's so healing. It was great. I don't think I would have been able to really do that had I not had the shrooms, the microdosing experience to help me with this like spirituality.
Yeah. So the meditation was prior to, not intentionally like meditation microdose. It was like, oh, I'm doing these meditations, and then did a microdose, and then it brought you back to that time and you were able to like connect the dots. Is that how it worked?
So I started my microdosing experience like last June 2022. And I don't think I signed up for this like meditation membership until September.
Okay.
Actually, it was after the Powerhouse Women event.
Oh, wow.
Dala recommended it to me.
Nice.
And so I think it was just something where I was like, okay, I'm ready for the next level.
Yeah.
Like I really want to dive deeper into what it means to be my higher self. And it worked out really well.
Yeah. I've noticed, at least for me, anytime I've ever done like a shroom journey or a microdose, it's almost like it pulls like, I'm just going to call it the last 5 months and all of the like little instances that have happened in the last 5 months that maybe are bad, like loops, cycles that I'm in or whatever. And then I'm like putting all that together and realizing like, this needs to be fixed. Wow, it is fixed. Okay, I've changed my mind now. And then after that, I call it, like me and my husband call it the table of contents. Like the shroom journey is like the table of contents. The stuff that comes up usually ends up being it's more easily to recognize it. Like
pattern recognition.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes.
You're like, oh, I can identify what the main issue was here or something.
And so after that little journey, do you feel like you had a pattern recognition like back into the real world after that? Of where maybe something came up friendship wise where you're like, I'm not gonna.
Sort of. It kind of showed me. I was like, I think there are other women or girls who I've met throughout my life who I put into the bucket of like, they remind me of those girls. I do not trust them. I will not go near them. And in some way that's just, that's yourself protecting yourself.
Right.
And that's healthy. But then in other ways, it's like, okay, what is triggering that? And how can I learn to unlearn that so that I can be a little more open-minded?
Right. Wow. That's beautiful. It's pattern recognition. And it's interesting because I feel like sometimes the pain of that reminder will still creep in as you enter into the same pattern in a different circumstance, right? Like, yeah. So in relation to microdosing and for you, how do you feel like that's impacted your mental health?
I would say like I get asked a lot, but like when I'm telling my friends about it, they're like, what's the biggest difference you notice? And it's honestly at the end of the day, you don't necessarily think like, or maybe when you're in it, when it's like the core part of your day after you've taken a microdose, you don't feel any different. But it's at the end of the day when I'm sitting down with my partner going over like, hey, how was your day? Where you start to notice like the roadblocks that I used to have or the road bumps I used to face now like aren't a big deal. Yeah. It's like I have this mindset where I'm a lot more capable. I'm a lot more open-minded. If a situation, like for example, I remember in like September, an employee quit and gave like kind of short notice. And that would be a stressful situation to anyone. It allowed me to come to the situation with like compassion instead of anger, because what benefit does coming to the table with anger have?
Right.
Literally none.
Right.
And so it's almost like, and quite literally, this is what microdosing on shrooms does. It allows new neural pathways in your brain to like unlock. Yeah. So instead of like, hey, I have this habit of when this happens, I get angry. Your brain's like, oh, you're more fluid. You can choose all these other options for how you want to react to the situation.
Look at the
now.
list of other things you can do instead.
Exactly.
It's so true. And I feel like in relation to like anger, what I realized in my like scholarly like shroom experience, it's a distraction, and microdosing helps you realize that it's a distraction, whatever it is, anger, frustration, like self-sabotage, all of these like limiting feelings that restrict and do not like expand, like anger is a distraction for the real thing. So like, and the real thing are the options that like the mushrooms show you, I feel like, right? Yeah. Like, yes, are you frustrated and maybe feeling a little bit overwhelmed? Okay, how can you see it on their perspective? Or maybe you like really tap into like, okay, what's the feeling that I'm feeling right now with somebody leaving? Okay, it is, how am I going to figure it out? Now I'm feeling abandoned.
Yes, it all comes back to like, what is this core feeling I am experiencing, and when was the first time I felt this way?
Yeah.
And so what is causing it to come up again? Yes.
And so with your therapist, I microdose with a therapist, but my therapist is like, yeah, shrooms, like, right? I feel like, I don't know. I feel like your therapist is like traditional. Was she like,
she was
Becca?
Traditional? No, she was completely open-minded to it. And I had told her like earlier on that I like cannabis. Yeah. And so she knew that. And I think especially after she heard about my experience and I wrote down all the thoughts that came out of it, she was also just more understanding of like the therapeutic benefits of it for mental health.
You are so open about mental health online. You're so open about like the modalities in which you tackle mental health online. When I feel like a lot of people either hide it, shy away from it, won't talk about if they're taking medication or not. Well, but you're like very open about that. Were you always that way?
I was not, but I also wasn't doing anything to tackle mental health. Like I was just suffering in my own brain. Yeah. And I think I realized as I learned more about mental health, my first experience with it was I was on Adderall for ADHD, which I no longer am. But that kind of opened the gateway to like psychiatry for me. In addition to therapy, I just saw this whole new perspective of like, everyone is going through this. Or like once you see how you can treat something, it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I had an issue until it was solved. Or I had attention deficit disorder or anxiety. It's like, oh my God, I've been living my life this way for so long and I had no idea. So I think part of me is like coming at it from the perspective of helping people.
Yeah.
Like I hear people talk about, and I'm like, I can just recognize, I'm like, that's a symptom of depression. Like, I'm just like, okay. So it's like I go into fixer mode. So I'm like, okay, I can share about little things that I'm doing to help people with, or to help myself with my mental health. And if that helps other people too, that's great. Obviously, I'm not a doctor.
Right.
But I think just talking about my experience helps people.
Totally. What are some of the things that you realized that you had that you didn't realize was a problem until it was solved?
Oh, anxiety is a big one.
Like what?
Okay, so like, even just, I think I just had this constant tenseness in my chest all the time. Literally, I don't remember the last time I like felt that way until I got on anxiety medication. I was like, oh, I forgot what it felt like to be. I thought I was just like a human that felt that way all the time. I thought that's how life was. And then I got on anxiety medication and I was like, oh my gosh, I am so much more of a pleasant person. Because my brain is no longer, here's the analogy I give. Your thoughts are a freeway or a highway. And ADHD is how many lanes you have. ADHD, I have like 50 lanes in my freeway. Like so many different lanes going at the same time. There are cars going at different speeds, merging, whatever. Anxiety is like holes in the road.
Okay.
What is that called?
Potholes?
Potholes. Except the potholes don't just drop 6 feet. They drop like 60 feet into the ground and you get stuck down there. It's like, what if this happens and you like cannot see yourself out? And so you get into this just like thought loop of like, what if my parents die? And like, how am I going to be when my dog dies? I'm like these things, these intrusive thoughts that you just cannot get out from.
Yeah.
And what is dangerous about having ADHD and anxiety, and my psychiatrist says they're kind of in like a very messy Venn diagram. Like a lot of times if you have one, you suffer from the other. Is if you're treating ADHD, I don't want to be giving, this is not medical advice.
It's not medical advice.
Not medical advice.
But this is good. Keep going.
Yes. Okay. If you're treating ADHD, say with Adderall, but you have anxiety, that can cause you to be having 50 lanes going down the rabbit hole.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So it's like you're anxious but faster. So I was like, as much as Adderall was helping me with my focus, my psychiatrist was like, we actually need to flip the switch here.
Yeah.
And we need to treat your anxiety before we even think about treating ADHD. So now I don't do anything for my ADHD.
Okay. I need to rewind a little bit. Mm-hmm. You talked about intrusive thoughts. Mm-hmm. Could you give us a scale of what's intrusive versus what's just a thought?
Yes.
Do you see what I'm saying?
So like you're enjoying, this goes back to being present too. Like I'm enjoying a beautiful sunset car ride with my boyfriend or fiance, heading out to dinner and we're in a left turn lane. And I'm just like, what if that car hits us right now and we die? Like, it's just like, that's not going to happen. I have no benefit to worry about that right now, but it's ruining the moment.
Okay.
Like
your mood changes.
Yes.
Does mood change?
I'm no longer present. I'm not thinking about what song is playing or asking my partner about his day. I'm thinking like, wow, what would happen if I died? Yeah. Or something, you know? Or like, what if it's scary?
And does that pass? Let's just back to the left turn analogy. The left turn has been made. We're safe.
It can pass.
Okay.
Yes. And I think what happens with the anxiety medication, that doesn't necessarily fully go away, but you're able to recognize like, hey, I'm in a rabbit hole right now, or I'm in a pothole. How can just get out of it? And like, it allows you the ability to like crawl right up. And it's like, oh, okay. It's present again. Yes, exactly. Like, oh, it's a beautiful day.
Yeah. Okay. And so then now treating anxiety, what has that impacted ADHD at all?
Yes. So it's almost like kind of going back to being present. There are a little bit less lanes because I don't have those lanes that are worrying about 12 different things at the same time. And so it just allows my brain to have less tabs open. Yeah. And it helps a lot. Like, I wouldn't say it's full. Like, there are definitely some moments where I'm like, distractibility can be difficult.
Yeah.
But
what's distractibility?
Okay, here's an example. Here's an example I gave my psychiatrist. I was like, this is awful. I wanted to clean my makeup brushes.
Okay.
Those are in the bathroom, and I needed paper towels in my kitchen. So walk to the kitchen to get paper towels. Oh, I walk by the Nest. Why is it set to that temperature? Change it. 10 minutes later, what was I doing again? Oh, I was going to get paper towels. Walk to the kitchen. Oh, what's that smell? Oh, I need to take out the trash. Take out the trash. Like, it took me like 3 different thoughts to like execute, go to get the paper towels and bring them to the bathroom.
Okay.
Before it would actually get done.
Okay.
Yeah.
I sometimes have distractibility, I think.
Yeah, I think that's something as we get older too. I think that happens to everyone.
Totally.
Like when people talk about mom brain, I think that has a lot to do with mom. I'm not a mom, but
yeah,
I would
feels like
imagine
that's probably.
Yeah.
Mine is definitely around my phone, especially because I use my phone for work a lot.
Yeah.
I open Instagram to find something, and then I'm like, why am I on Hailey Bieber's Instagram?
Yes.
What was I here for?
Yes.
What was I here for? What was I here for? Oh, link.
Yes.
Yes, I would love to talk about that.
Okay, what do you do to manage it? Anything?
No.
Okay, I got some.
Tell me. I'm like,
there's an app called Opal.
OP.
It's like OPAL. It's not cheap. It's like $115 for the year or something. But it's kind of one of those like URL blockers, but for apps.
Oh.
Where you can program it like between the hours of 10 and 4 p.m., which is what I do. I cannot go on Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, whatever. I can, for work purposes, I'll just go on my desktop and I'll go to Instagram if I need to like pull something up. But it really prevents like, I don't know. Like I don't get any notifications throughout the day. Like I feel like
you always have, every time I text you, do not disturb.
Always.
And I'm always like, dang, that's good self-discipline.
Like from 9 to 5, I have it on, and I have it so that like my family, my team could text me like if anything pops up. Other than that, I don't get notifications.
I love your boundaries, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I worked really hard on that.
Tell me about that.
Okay. Well, I work in social media. Social media, it's a little toxic of a place. Not sure if you've been there.
It can be where I've been there.
It's always on. I didn't realize that when I wanted to work in social media that I was signing up for something that's just like always needing to be managed. And after coming out of like quarantine and 2020, like my mental health was probably at its lowest. That was a lot of social media, or a lot of businesses turned to social media for marketing because they couldn't do anything in person anymore. And so we were slammed, which was amazing for business, terrible for my mental health. And I had one client who knew how to push every boundary that wasn't clearly written in a contract. And so I worked with our attorney to write up a contract and kind of just like make some lifestyle changes with my business coach as well. So
like what?
So I don't have the email app on my phone. Like not even on my phone.
What about for your personal emails?
I don't have it. I can go to gmail.com on Chrome if I need to.
On your Safari, Chrome,
I literally don't have it. No notifications. Just vibes.
Wait.
I literally don't have it.
Can you create merch that says no notifications, just
I have
vibe?
a sticker.
I need more than that.
Okay. I'll make another.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow. Okay, keep going.
I also have an app on my phone called Open Phone, and it allows me to have a secondary phone number. So for texting, calling, I can give to clients. So they do not have my normal phone number. So they can only reach me via that app. That app is beautiful for boundaries. If a client calls me or texts me outside of our office hours, which are 9 to 5, it automatically sends them a text, which I can program, that says like, hi, thanks so much for reaching out. You've reached us outside of office hours. Like, we'll get back to you. Like, yes. Like, please email us with attachments, links, whatever.
Clearly ambitious with boundaries.
That app is only like $9.99 a month. It is worth every penny.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so boundaries. You don't have the Gmail app in your phone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, so when do you check your personal emails? Maybe I check mine way too often.
I'll check it like throughout the workday. I'll open a tab. I don't really put anything. I get order receipts. Zillow notifications.
That's true. I guess that's true. Okay. So no Gmail app. Do not disturb 9 to 5.
9 to 5.
The app that's clients have a phone number and it has autoresponder to it. What else? Lifestyle boundaries.
Summer Fridays were off at
Love
noon
summer Fridays.
throughout the summer. That was a really great tip. What are other boundaries? Work ones come easy to me because they're in a literal contract. Like with friends, I don't.
And so how do you like when it comes to enforcing that, or at least let's talk about when you didn't have the boundaries. What was that? People pleasing? Like, was it
people pleasing? Scarcity mindset. Like, if I don't get them this deliverable, there's no way I can do this by tonight. They're going to fire me. So I have to get it done. I remember I had a client in 2020 text me. So we had like put, hey, we're going to be out of office from Thanksgiving through Black Friday. We'll be back Monday. Texted me on Friday, Black Friday, about a sale that needed to go live that day. Yes.
Did you get it up?
I don't remember. I don't think I did. I don't remember. I hope I didn't.
I had a client.
But that's bad. I don't even remember if I did it or not, but I just remember how pissed
panic.
I was. Yes, exactly.
The panic. We remember the panic. I had a client text me Christmas Eve.
Oh,
Need to hop on a call.
no. Oh, that's another thing I do. No same day calls.
Love that.
You have to be on my calendar.
Love that. Yeah, no same day calls. Okay, so you didn't have these boundaries. It was people pleasing. Do you remember like where that, we're talking about like tracing it back to the first time of why you felt like you had to?
I think it just comes back to childhood perfectionism and wanting to succeed and people pleasing. I think it's a mesh of all of those things.
Was that for you? For me, I have had people pleasing. My loop was perform, love. So I have to people please to figure out how I can perform for them.
Yeah.
I was like a trick pony. Like, what do you like? What do you like? Oh, this, right? And then
Next answer too. I think that comes into it.
Yes. Okay. So like performance equals love. So now I'm going to figure out how I need to perform for you. So that you don't fire me, which equals love, validation, all the things.
And like growing up, I was involved in everything. I said yes to everything. I was not taught like, hey, maybe you don't have room on your plate for that right now. It was more like, you're amazing. You can do it all. Yes, exactly. And somehow I did.
Yeah.
But I remember on the last day of the semester, especially in high school, like say it was like the last Friday in December before like Christmas or whatever, I would be like depressed, like at home. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I was like, I have completed the checklist. Who am I as a human? Like, I was like, I didn't even think to schedule something with a friend. Or like, I just remember feeling so empty and not knowing like what that feeling was. And I think it was because I was just like so burnt out.
Yeah.
Then I got to college and it was easy.
Meaning like
I didn't have any more obligations anymore, like clean slate. And so I was a little more strategic and got to pick things that like I truly enjoyed.
Wow. I love that for you. I didn't let that go in college. I was like the 21 credit girl with a job and also on the spirit squad.
I mean, I did that too, but it was nothing compared to high school. I was insane. It was easy. I was like, I got this.
Yeah. I mean, it prepped yourself.
Yes. Yes, that's true.
And so at what point do you feel like you shed that in adulthood fully, right? Because the boundaries came in.
Yeah. You do this too. I invest in myself a lot. 2021 was a really big year of investment. That's when I started therapy. That's when I hired a business coach. And I worked with my business coach, which Jessica Marks at the time. And she would be like, wait, you keep telling me that you hate being on these client calls. Why do you have 6 on your calendar tomorrow? I'd be like, good question.
Do you share your calendar with her?
No, but she sometimes, like as a piece of homework, she'd be like, send me a screenshot of your calendar.
Oh,
I'm like, fuck.
You're like, this week or last week?
Or maybe that wasn't it. Maybe she'd be like, okay, what are you doing tomorrow? And I would literally like detail everything. She's like, wait, you just told me you're hopping on 6 client calls. Like, why can't your account manager do that? I'm like, she can, but I like to support her.
Yeah.
And I enjoy making relationships with my clients, but I burn out,
Right. So what opened up for you like in life when you started to put those personal and like business boundaries?
Oh, I started feeling, this kind of sounds sad. I started feeling so bad for like past me. I was like, oh, I can't believe I did that to myself. Like you feel a little bit guilty because it allows like your wings to expand a little bit. Cause you're like, I wasn't living to my full potential because I was just people pleasing. I was just doing things for other people and not on my agenda.
Right.
Like I used to have a really bad habit of like, I guess the word is venting or maybe complaining, like getting to the kitchen table at dinner in my household as a high schooler. I just remember being like, here are all the shitty things that happened to me. Who wants to hear? And now like, I don't let those things get to me at all.
Yeah.
Like, sure, there might be, you know, if there's a big thing, but like, I don't even bother to inconvenience my partner with like some of the little things. Like, why? What's the point? I don't need to ruminate on them. It's thought looping.
Yeah.
I don't need to overanalyze them. Like, do my brain a favor and dismiss it and move on.
What is thought looping?
When your brain just keeps trying to make sense of the same scenario, but maybe considering it from different point of views.
So and so said something to me at work, made me feel
like,
away.
Oh, they could have had this doctor's appointment that day. Maybe they got bad news and so they were acting out. Or, oh shoot, is it because I said this to her? Or like, you're just, it's my strength and my weakness.
Yeah.
Like I can be such a strong analytical person. I can find out anything, but it's my biggest weakness because I can just completely overanalyze something to the bone and there's no point.
Yeah. And I was just about to ask, like, what would make that bad? Maybe it's the level in which.
Yeah, the level in which. And again, it comes back to like being present. Like I could be enjoying a nice conversation with you, but in my overdrive, I'm really just looping through a situation that didn't go as I wanted it to. And so I'm over analyzing like, what could I do to prevent that from happening again?
Yeah. And so I want to close with one last question. You've done so much mental, I mean, if we're talking about 2020, 2021 being like cocoon season. And like, I feel like even just as your friend, and we've worked together, we've overlapped in work. I've always admired your boundaries. I even tell people like, Becca has good ass boundaries.
Thank
you. I'm just like,
even
great.
My future mother-in-law DM'd me and she's like, I just want to say I'm so proud of your boundaries. I was like, I didn't even realize I had any with you, but I'm glad you recognize them.
Because they're there, whichever ones they are.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So what does the future look like for you? What intentions are you setting for like, you know, today and beyond?
I'm just trying to, like, I had a thought yesterday. I was like, part of me feels like I'm in the good old days, but I think that my perspective can be like, every day is the good old day. You just have to make it. And that sounds so corny.
No, that was good. This feels like scholarly talk right now.
It is. Take notes. But I think that like moving forward, it's so important for me to recognize and journal like how I'm feeling, because it's so easy to get trapped in like a new mindset without realizing you're no longer in your healthy state of mind.
So
it's like going back to default or like autopilot.
Yeah. Okay. So I know I wanted to close with that, but
you're like, wait, we have more to discuss.
You said it's important for you to journal how you're feeling every day, because do you go back?
I think, yes. Have you ever like gone back and read a journal entry?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you should. Yeah. I act like I'm an expert here. I've only done it like 3 times.
Like you're like, it's powerful.
But I remember, okay, this was kind of cool. For my coaching with Jessica Marks, she started her coaching program with a retreat in San Diego. And for some reason, I brought this like journal. I never journal. I was probably going to use it to take notes throughout the session. And I had a microdose and I opened my journal and I forgot that the last time I had journaled was like a year ago when I was in a bad place with work, where I was like anxiety everywhere. Like I was worried about clients, I was worried about my team, everything. I was letting it consume my life. And it was so refreshing to look back and be like, I forgot I felt that way.
Wow.
Because it just reminds you like, oh my gosh, look at how much work I've done. Look at how far I've come.
Right.
And it teaches your brain like, I can keep doing this. I can keep going. It's kind of like if you don't measure or like weigh yourself when you're trying to lose weight, you have no idea what you've accomplished.
Right.
It's kind of like that. It's like, oh, I forgot that these were my thought patterns back then. And now look at how far I've come.
Right. That's beautiful. Yeah. I'm going to try that.
You should.
But thank you
so
Thank much for today.
I think that you're one of the few people who I can feel safe talking to this.
I feel
talking about this with.
And
I think we have a very strong spiritual connection.
I think so too. I just adore you.
Oh,
I
same.
really do. I have so much fun with you. So this is like to
Soul
like
sister.
commemorate it.
Yes.
This felt great.
Yeah, we put a little bow on it.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll help some people.
Yes.
Thank you for interviewing me. Love you.
Thank you.
Yeah.